They didn't come to my wedding. Not one phone call. Not one text. Just 2 empty chairs in the front row, draped in white satin, staring back at me like ghosts while everyone else clapped as I said, "I do." I remember the exact sound, the soft creak of those folding chairs when the breeze moved the ribbon tied to them. The photographer hesitated, glanced at the gap, then kept clicking like nothing was missing. My husband, David, squeezed my hand tighter under the bouquet. "They're the ones missing out," he whispered. I nodded, smiled for the photos, but inside, something small and quiet cracked that day. Not loud enough for anyone to hear, just enough for me to feel it every time I breathed. That was 5 years ago. Back then, life was simpler in the way small-town lives can be. We lived in a modest 2-bedroom house on the edge of Faisalabad, my parents' house until I moved out at 24. Abu worked as a senior clerk in the revenue office. Ami taught Quran classes to neighborhood girls in our drawing room 3 afternoons a week. The smell of her cardamom chai filled the house every evening, mixed with the faint rosewater she dabbed behind her ears. I was their only daughter, the sensible one, the one who got good marks, didn't argue much, helped with groceries without being asked. My younger brother, Saad, was the golden child, charming, loud, always had a new scheme or story. Abu would laugh at his jokes, pat his back, say things like, "This boy will go far." With me, it was always, "Study hard, get a government job, don't waste time on dreams." David came into my life during a software boot camp in Lahore. He was quiet, focused, from a simple family in Multan. We bonded over late-night debugging sessions and shared plates of dal chawal from the canteen. When we decided to get married, I told my parents. Ami's face tightened. "He's what? A freelancer? No stable job." Abu didn't even look up from his newspaper. "We can't afford a big wedding for something like this, and people will talk." I explained it would be small, just close family, a nikah at home, dinner after. David's side would help with costs. They listened, nodded, said they'd think about it. Weeks passed. No discussion. No questions about the date. When I sent the invitation card, simple white with gold lettering, Ami put it in the drawer without a word. The day before the wedding, I called. Abu answered. "We're not coming," he said flatly. "Saad has an important interview tomorrow. We can't miss it. You understand." I didn't, but I said okay. Hung up, cried in the bathroom so David wouldn't hear, then wiped my face, put on my red lehenga, and walked into a room full of people who chose to be there. After the nikah, we moved to Karachi. David got a steady job at a tech firm. I kept freelancing UI/UX design, building apps for startups. We rented a small flat in Gulshan, saved every rupee. No drama, no big fights with my parents. Just distance, quiet, growing distance. They called sometimes, asked about work, never about the wedding, never sorry. I answered politely, kept it short. Then came the slow climb. My designs started getting noticed. One client led to another. A US-based startup hired me full-time remotely. Good pay, benefits. David got promoted twice. We saved aggressively. No fancy vacations. No expensive phones. Just steady building. 3 years in, we bought our first car, a used Corolla. Practical. Reliable. My parents commented on the photo I sent. Good choice. Sensible. Last year, after a big project bonus and years of careful saving, I did something just for me. I bought the Porsche. A 911 Carrera metallic silver, the kind that catches light like water. $135,000. More money than I ever thought I'd have in one place. I didn't buy it to show off. I bought it because I could. Because every late night, every ignored call, every empty chair had led here. I posted one photo on Instagram. Just the car in our building parking, sunlight on the hood. Caption. To the girl who kept going anyway. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't expect anything. 2 days later, my phone rang. "Emmy." "Beta," she said, voice softer than I'd heard in years. "We need to talk. Can you come home this weekend? It's important." I stared at the screen, heart steady. "Okay," I said. "I'll come." The drive back to Faisalabad felt longer than 5 hours. The AC in the Porsche hummed low and steady, cool air brushing my arms. Outside, the motorway blurred, fields of sugarcane, billboards for cement and mobile networks, the occasional chai stall with plastic chairs under neem trees. I kept both hands on the wheel, radio off. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and my own breathing. David had offered to come. I said no. "This is between me and them," I told him. "I need to see it alone." He kissed my forehead, said, "Call me if you need me. I'll be here." When I pulled into our old street, the neighborhood hadn't changed much. Same cracked pavement, same stray cats sunning on walls, same kids playing cricket with a taped-up ball. But heads turned. A few aunties paused mid-conversation on their verandas. Someone whispered, "Isn't that Saima?" Another said, "Look at the car." I parked right in front of the house. The silver paint caught the afternoon sun like a mirror. I stepped out in simple jeans and a white cordy, no jewelry, no show. Just me. Amy opened the gate before I even knocked. She looked smaller somehow. Dupatta slipping off her shoulder, eyes red-rimmed like she hadn't slept. "Beta," she said, voice trembling just a little. She reached for my hand, held it too tight. "Come inside." Abu was in the drawing room, sitting on the old sofa with the faded floral print. He stood when I entered. No hug, just a nod. "Sit," he said. I sat across from him. The fan overhead creaked slowly. The smell of Amy's cooking drifted in, onion frying, cumin popping in ghee. Familiar, almost comforting, almost. They didn't waste time. "We saw the photo," Abu started. "The car. Everyone is talking about it. Your cousins sent it to us. They said, 'You've done very well.'" I waited. No congratulations. No, "we're proud." Just that careful tone people use when they want something. Amy sat beside me, hands folded in her lap. "We've been thinking a lot, Saima. About the past. About your wedding." Abu cleared his throat. "We were wrong not to come. We were worried. About what people would say. About Saad's future. We thought if we supported something uncertain, it would reflect badly. But now we see you've built something solid. Very solid." He glanced toward the window, toward the Porsche gleaming outside. "We want to make it right," Amy said softly. "We want to be part of your life again. Properly. Come for Eid. Bring David. Let us host you here. Let us—" She hesitated. "Let us help with whatever you need now." I looked at her, then at Abu. "Help," I repeated quietly. Abu shifted. "You know how things are. Inflation. Saad's wedding is coming up next year. The expenses. We thought, since you're doing so well, maybe you could." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. The room went very still. The fan kept turning. Somewhere a motorcycle passed, horn sharp. I felt it then, the same small crack from my wedding day widening just a little more. Not into anger, into clarity. "You didn't come to my wedding because it wasn't convenient," I said, voice calm, steady. "Because it didn't look good. Because Saad's interview mattered more. And now, because I have a car that costs more than this house. You remember I exist." Amy's eyes filled. "Beta, that's not." "It is." I cut in gently. Not loud. Not cruel. Just true. You didn't call to say congratulations on the job. On the promotion. On buying our first flat. You didn't ask how David and I were building our life. But this you noticed." Abu looked down at his hands. The veins stood out, same as always. "We were proud," he said quietly. "We just didn't know how to show it." I stood up slowly. "I'm glad you're proud now," I told them. "But pride that only shows up when there's something shiny to point at. That's not the kind I need." Amy reached for my arm. "Please, Saima, don't leave like this. Stay for dinner at least." I looked at her face. Lines deeper than before, worry etched in every fold. Part of me wanted to stay, to smooth it over, to be the good daughter again. But another part, the part that had driven through the night after the nikah, the part that had coded until my eyes burned, the part that had said "I do" to a man who showed up every single day, said no. "I can't," I said. "Not today." I walked to the door. Amy followed, crying quietly now. Abu stayed seated. At the gate, I turned back once. "If you ever want to see me, just me, not the car, not the money, call. I'll answer. But don't wait for another photo to remind you I'm here." I got in the Porsche, started the engine. The low rumble filled the street. As I pulled away, I saw them in the rearview mirror, standing together at the gate, smaller and smaller, until the road curved and they were gone. The motorway back to Karachi stretched long and empty that evening. Sunset turned the sky orange, then pink, then deep purple. I kept the windows cracked just enough to let the warm air mix with the leather smell of the new interior. No music, just the low purr of the engine and the occasional whoosh of a passing truck. I didn't cry, not once. What I felt wasn't rage or even deep sadness anymore. It was something quieter, a kind of tired acceptance, like finally putting down a heavy bag you'd carried for years without realizing how much it weighed. When I got home, David was waiting. Lights on in the kitchen, the smell of garlic and ginger frying. He didn't ask right away, just opened his arms. I walked into them, rested my forehead against his shoulder, and stayed there until my breathing evened out. Later, over plates of chicken karahi and naan still warm from the tawa, I told him everything, word for word. He listened without interrupting, thumb tracing slow circles on the back of my hand. "They wanted money for Saad's wedding," I finished. "That's what the call was really about." David nodded slowly. "And you said no." I said, "Not like this." He looked at me for a long moment. "You okay?" I thought about it. Really thought. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." The next few months passed in a gentle rhythm. I kept working, loved the work, loved the quiet pride of seeing my name on apps people used every day. David and I started planning a small trip, just us, to northern areas. Gilgit, maybe. Somewhere with mountains and clean air. Somewhere far from expectations. My phone stayed mostly silent from Faisalabad. A few messages from Amy. How are you, Beta? Take care of yourself. I answered politely. Short, kind. But I didn't offer more. Didn't invite them to visit. Didn't pretend the gap wasn't there. Then, about 6 months later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Amy's neat Urdu script on pale blue envelope. I opened it at the kitchen table. Morning light slanting across the floor. She wrote about small things first. The new curtain she'd sewn. How the jasmine plant finally flowered. How Saad had gotten engaged and was happy. Then she wrote the harder part. We were wrong, Saima. Not just about the wedding. About so many things. We measured love by what looked safe, what people would approve. We thought protecting our image protected you too. But we hurt you instead. Deeply. I see that now. Your father sees it. He doesn't say much, but he keeps your wedding photo, the one from the nikah, on his desk at the office. He looks at it every day. We don't expect forgiveness right away. Or money. Or anything. We just want you to know we're sorry. Truly. And if you ever want to talk, just talk, we'll listen. No conditions. No requests. We love you. Always have. We were just too afraid to show it properly. Amy. I read it twice. Folded it carefully. Slid it into the drawer where I kept important things. Our nikah certificate, the first utility bill we paid together. A dried rose from our first anniversary. I didn't reply that day. Or the next. But a week later, I sent a short voice note. Assalamu alaikum, Amy. I got your letter. Thank you for writing it. I'm not ready to come home yet. But I'm not closing the door either. Maybe one day we can sit and talk. Really talk. Until then, take care of yourselves. I hit send. Felt the knot in my chest loosen just a fraction. Life moved forward. Not dramatically. Not with grand reconciliations or tearful reunions on doorsteps. Just steadily. Saad's wedding came and went. I sent a gift. A polite message. No Porsche photos. No flaunting. Just quiet goodwill from a distance. And me? I kept the car because it still felt like mine. A reminder that I could build something beautiful even when the people who should have cheered the loudest stayed silent. But it wasn't a weapon anymore. It was just transportation. A nice one. Sometimes healing doesn't look like forgiveness handed out freely. Sometimes it looks like boundaries drawn with love instead of anger. Sometimes it looks like saying, I still exist with or without your approval, and meaning it. And sometimes, if they're lucky and patient, the ones who forgot you get the chance to remember you as you truly are. Not the daughter with the expensive car. Just the daughter. So tell me in the comments on Broken Trust Stories, have you ever had family only show up when they saw your success? Did you let them back in right away? Or did you make them earn the space again? And if they said sorry, not for show but for real, would that be enough for you? I'd love to hear your heart on this. Because family can break trust in the quietest ways. But sometimes, with time and truth, it can mend too. Thank you for sitting with me through this story. If it moved you, like, share, subscribe to Broken Trust Stories. More real voices. More real pain. More real healing. May Allah soften every hard heart, including our own. Ameen.